Jazz has always been towing the line between controversy and innovation. It had a hand in bringing us the modern drum set, put a spotlight on improvisation over written music, and inspired many mainstream genres today such as rock and roll, hip-hop, and R&B. Until 1925, films were shown and produced without sound or accompaniment. Jazz and animation began to peak at about the same time and had tendencies to push similar boundaries insofar as what was considered moral and appropriate. Some may argue jazz never intended to be so largely in the public scope. Originally, most jazz performers were African Americans in a time when blacks weren't allowed to perform at white clubs. And as its popularity increased, so did campaigns to censor it. During the Prohibition, jazz became associated with gangster-run nightclubs and speakeasies, which facilitated mixing of races. This connection infused a style of rebelliousness and coolness in the vices that were indulged in these illegal clubs. And you can see that in many jazz-influenced animations such as Tex Avery's Red Hot Riding Hood of 1943.
Cigarettes, cigarettes.
An urban spin on the classic fairy tale, a wolf walks into a strip club where cigarettes and alcohol are being sold. Here we see Red, voiced by Sarah Berner, performing jazz composer Bobby Troupe's 1941 hit Daddy. You may recognize the scene from the film The Mask. Wolf's reaction to her performance is crude and provocative, and he can't seem to take no for an answer.
That, babe? Well... No! To Grandma's house! Hurry!
Hey, follow that cab! Yes, sir!
When he arrives at Red's grandmother's house, she acts in a terribly lustful manner towards Wolf, leading them on a wild chase through the house.
Why, I'll kill myself before I'll even look at another babe.
The short ends with Wolf committing suicide and the spirit carrying on in the afterlife in the same manner in which he lived. Although the film suffered many censorships, I can't imagine any other marriage between animation and another genre of music that would test the moral limits in such an accessible and fun manner as jazz. This isn't to say what jazz brought to the table was a rebelliousness. There's just something inherently cool about jazz, and you'll find that same coolness in most any animation inspired by it, such as Louis Jordan's Is You Is or Is You Ain't My Baby, featured in Tom and Jerry.
You is still my baby, baby. See my fling in your heart's done go now.
Animator Max Fletcher, who brought us Betty Boop, Coco the Clown, Popeye, and Superman, was responsible for the rotoscope and the mixing of live action and animated film. Many of his films featured jazz performers and music such as Cab Calloway, Louis Armstrong, and Don Redman in a positive light, which was pretty bold considering that during the time, most depictions of people of color were quite insulting. Al Jolson, a vaudeville singer, was featured in Fletcher Studios' The Jazz Singer, the first talking picture. Though he was known for performing in blackface, he is credited with introducing African-American music to white audiences on Broadway, and he's known to have fought against black discrimination in the industry. The music itself had a profound effect on the pace and coolness of the animation. However, I feel the greatest influences were the performers themselves. Here I'm mainly concerned with Cab Calloway, as I feel his impact on animation and movement is the most appealing. In his case, an animation technique called rotoscoping is used to map out and animate his movements. Animators take a live-action film and animate over them frame by frame, allowing for a greater representation of the characters. Cab Calloway was considered quite edgy for the time, from his erratic behavior and dancing style to the lyrical content. He often sang of indulgent lifestyles, substance abuse, and prostitution, and you can see these dark themes in the cartoons he's inspired. Cab Calloway wasn't the only jazz man to be rotoscoped, however. Here we see Louis Armstrong as a tribesman in a Betty Boop cartoon, which some believe to have racist undertones. It is not unusual for there to be controversy surrounding the animations depicting men of color, In Disney's The Jungle Book, Armstrong was considered for the role of King Louis.
I've reached the top and had to stop, and that's what's bothering me. I want to be a man cub, and stroll right into town, and be just like the other men. I'm tired of walking around.
Furthermore, Daniel Goldmark, author of Tunes for Tunes, further asserts that the targeted white audiences found jazz cartoons desirable because the cartoons emphasized the stereotype notion that blacks live their lives with careless freedom. Looking back on these short films, we see that there is a fine line between the cartoons representing African Americans in an appreciative and respectful way, and the cartoons appropriating using African tradition in a manner which solely benefits white audiences. It's certainly giving jazz and people of color more face time with white audiences, but at what cost? Robert Clampett's Coal Black and the Seven Dwarves is part of Warner Brothers' Censored 11, and is a black jazz-centric parody of Disney's Snow White. So White, the protagonist of the story, is the sexual desire of every man present. The envious queen hires a group of men to black out So White, but she eludes being murdered by performing unseen favors, leaving the men ecstatic and covered in lipstick. As this is shown during World War II, there's a lot of anti-Japanese sentiment present in the cartoons. The story is an effort to glorify African American soldiers in an attempt to get more to enlist. Even So White is playing her part, singing that she is wacky over khaki now, and being recruited as a cook for the hungry soldiers.
Didn't join up 'cause I was good looking, but to answer the voice when he says, "What's cooking, honey? What's cooking?"
These are just a few examples of the effects jazz has had on animation, not just thematically, but stylistically, and show that jazz's musical expression has not just been a social inspiration, but has also influenced other art mediums. I hope you've enjoyed.